I found a love for me. Darling, just dive right in, follow my lead. Well, I found a girl, beautiful and sweet. Well, I never knew you were the someone waiting for me. 'Cause we were just kids when we fell in love, not knowing what it was. I will not give you up this time. Darling, just kiss me slow. Your heart is all I own, and in your eyes you're holding mine. Baby, I'm dancing in the dark with you between my arms, barefoot on the grass. We're listening to our favorite song. When you said you looked a mess, I whispered underneath my breath, but you heard it. Darling, you look perfect tonight. Well, I found a woman stronger than anyone I know. She shares my dreams. I hope that someday I'll share her home. I found a love to carry more than just my secrets, to carry love, to carry children of our own. We are still kids, but we're so in love, fighting against all odds. I know we'll be alright this time. Darling, just hold my hand. Be my girl, I'll be your man. I see my future in your eyes. Baby, I'm dancing in the dark with you between my arms, barefoot on the grass, listening to our favorite song. When I saw you in that dress, looking so beautiful, I don't deserve this. Darling, you look perfect tonight. No, no, baby, I'm dancing in the dark with you between my arms, barefoot on the grass, or listening to our favorite song. I have faith in what I see. Now I know I have met an angel in person, and she looks perfect. I don't deserve this. You look perfect tonight.
Unforgettable, that's what you are.
Unforgettable, though near or far.
Like a song of how the thought of you does things to me never before has someone been more
unforgettable in every way,
and forevermore,
and forevermore.
That's how you'll stay.
That's how you'll stay.
That's why, darling, it's incredible that someone so unforgettable thinks that I am unforgettable too.
Someone been more unforgettable in every way, and forevermore, that's how you'll stay.
That's how you'll stay. That's why, darling, it's incredible that someone so unforgettable thinks that I am unforgettable too. A vow, for better or for worse. I can't believe you let me down, but the proof's in the way it hurts. For months on end I've had my doubts, denying every tear. I wish this would be over now, but I know that I still need you here. You say I'm crazy, 'cause you don't think I know what you've done. But when you call me baby, I know I'm not the only one. You've been so unfadable. Now sadly I know why. Your heart is unobtainable, even though God knows you kept mine. You say I'm crazy, 'cause you don't think I know what you've done. But when you call me baby, I know I'm not the And I know, 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 I know I'm not the only one. Sometimes I wonder why I spend the lonely nights dreaming of a song, the melody haunts my reverie, and I am once again when our love was new, and each kiss an inspiration. Oh, but that was long ago, and now my consolation is in the stardust of a song. Beside a garden wall, when the stars were bright, you were in my arms. The nightingale tells its fairy tale of paradise where roses grew. Though I dream in vain, in my heart it always will remain. My stardust melody, the memory of love's refrain. Stardust melody, the memory of love's refrain.
Good afternoon / good evening, and welcome to Seabreeze High School. I am Joe Rawlings, principal of Seabreeze. On behalf of the Chandler family and the entire Sand Crab Nation, let me be the first to thank you for coming here this afternoon to celebrate a truly remarkable life. I first had the privilege to meet Coach Chandler when I became principal of Seabreeze 5 years ago. Coach came over during the summer prior to my first year and introduced himself to me, and he actually asked me, would I like for his services to the school to continue? He was such a humble man. Needless to say, I made it clear to Coach that he could do anything, anytime, anywhere at Seabreeze that he wanted to do. The shirt I'm wearing today along with the one that my wife Lynn is wearing in the audience, the white version of this one, were the first shirts I received at Seabreeze, and they were gifts from Coach Chandler. Needless to say, these are shirts that I will always keep. During my first year taking over as principal, I would stop by and chat with Coach on different occasions, many times about basketball. Coach would talk about West Virginia's team, and I'm from Kentucky, for those that don't know, and of course I would talk about my Kentucky Wildcats. I learned through these visits that Coach was a Kentucky fan as well. But something far more important took place during our early chats. Coach would always ask me, he would look at me seriously and ask me how I was doing. And he would state that being a high school principal is a really big job, and he wanted to make sure I was doing okay. After each one of these discussions, he would leave me with the comment, "I think you're doing a good job," with a wink. I always let him know how much I appreciated his support because it did mean a great deal to me. My first 2 years being principal at Seabreeze, at the end of each year, Coach would always set up a formal meeting with me at the end of the year to ask if I still wanted his services for the following year. A message bubble would literally pop up over my head, and I would think, is he kidding me? He's more important to this school than anyone else could ever be. I would always reassure him that his place at Seabreeze was always secure and that he worked harder as a volunteer and spent more time here than many people who were employed. Thankfully, after those first couple of years, he no longer felt the need to schedule those visits our last few years together. When it came time that we needed to fill the athletic director's position with Brad Montgomery, one of the early conversations I had with Brad was I let him know that a critical component of the position was his ability to work with Coach Chandler, because Coach wasn't going anywhere. Needless to say, their relationship flourished during their time together, and they formed a great team. In closing, and I don't mean to offend anyone with these comments, this is strictly my opinion. In today's world, the terms greatness and legend are used too frequently to describe individuals that have left an impact one way or another. Coach Gerald Chandler was such a humble man and a true humble servant to the Seabreeze community and to Sand Crab Nation. I feel truly blessed to have known what I consider to be a true legend, someone whose legacy will live on forever. Jerry, rest in peace.
Hello, I'm Ruthie Labno, and I used to work here. I am so honored to be able to say a few words about my good friend, Jerry. He's a wonderful man. He became my mentor at Seabreeze. It didn't hurt that he was also from West Virginia, just like I am. I've known Jerry for almost 50 years. Back in December of 1972, I came to Seabreeze High School and I interviewed with Mr. Cuddy. Some of you may remember that name. Some of us may try to forget that name. Enough. Mr. Cuddy said that they were moving a veteran teacher out of the biology classroom into the attendance department, and they needed somebody to take over his classes for the rest of the year. So I said, well, gee, I just graduated. I have a biology degree. I think I can teach those classes. So Mr. Cuddy had me go and observe Mr. Chandler for a day. Boy, what a day. I left that classroom at the end of the day thinking, I can never fill these shoes. Well, anyhow, I got the job. Next 40 years I lived here. And Jerry was just the biggest help in the world to me. He was the most organized teacher I have ever seen. So I said to Jerry, I said, where are we? Where do I start? What do I do? He brings out this notebook. It's this high. And he said, well, here, every single day of the year is planned for you. Every day. Here's the lesson, here's the quiz, here's the test, here's the worksheet, here's the lab. I mean, what new teacher falls into a dream job like that? Needless to say, I had a really good year. And Jerry became my mentor. He became my friend. At the end of that school year, it was the last day of what we used to call post-planning. And I went to Jerry and I said, Jerry, they haven't told me if I can come back or not. And he said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, I don't think I'm hired back. I think I have to pack up and go home. He said, wait a minute, Ruthie. I got a question for you. What can you coach? That happened to be the $1 million question. And I said, well, let's see, I took a class in tennis at college, and I took a class in archery, but I didn't think that would work. I said, I can coach tennis. Jerry said, you're hired. I'll talk to Cuddy tomorrow, you're hired. 40 years later, here I am. But Jerry became my mentor. I coached for him, went to him when I had problems, and so on. He was just the most wonderful person in the world to work for. Now, most of you are probably aware that Jerry came from West Virginia to coach basketball here at Seabreeze with Mr. Surratt. Well, that is true, and that's part of this. But what you may not know is he was the first winner of the $30 million West Virginia lottery. So he was coming to Florida for rest and relaxation. What he didn't know, though, was the West Virginia $30 million lottery was $30 a year for the next million years. And I think that's why Jerry worked here at Seabreeze for the next 60 years or so. He was frugal. Maybe that's what made him frugal. And he had a very creative method of accounting. When I coached for him, I found that out firsthand because Jerry would make me account for every single penny I spent. Now, those of you that are coaches here in the room, you know what the Florida High School Athletic Association is. They have all the rules for high school sports in the state of Florida. Well, one of the rules for the sport of tennis is that you have to start every competitive game with a new can of balls. So I told Jerry, I'm going to need 400 cans of balls. Oh, no, you're not. He says, we'll start with 50 cans of balls. We reuse them. I said, well, no, that's not the way it goes. You can't reuse the balls. We just stick them back in the cans, and we'll use them. They won't know. I said, yeah, they'll know. They get dirty. They get dirty. Well, after talking and talking and talking, I said, Jerry, this is Seabreeze High School. We need to look good out there while we're winning, and we won a lot. And he said, okay. He gave in. Eventually, he always gave in. Now, everything Jerry did, whether it was buying tennis balls or when my son was here, calling him up to his office and just talking to him. He was such a nice guy. He did everything for kids. He did everything for Seabreeze High School. I think when Jerry was born, they broke the mold. He was one in a million. He was truly Mr. Seabreeze. And I want to leave you with one thought. Death takes the body. God takes the soul. Our minds keep the memories. Our hearts keep the love. And our faith tells us that we'll meet again. Thank you.
say it's nice to see so much red out there, but I can't see. All right, I see you now. Yeah, wonderful. It's just wonderful. In 1968, I met Jerry Chandler, and I knew then that here was a man that was kind and generous and honest, and he genuinely cared for the people around him. And he preferred to stay out of the limelight. We couldn't get him to be in the limelight, but he was so proud of the accomplishments of everybody else that he had helped along. You know, Jerry had two great loves. One of them was his family. Every day, Jerry would have a story for me about someone in his family doing something. And very often, it would be accompanied by photographs and a long dissertation. He was so proud of his family, and he just adored them. His second love was here. And many of you in this room are included in that. You're Seabreeze people. In an era where loyalty seems to be passé, Jerry devoted 60 years to Seabreeze High School. Not only his working life, but his retired life as well. And Clint Eastwood was asked one time, "You're in your 80s. Why are you still working? How can you still do it?" And he said, "I just don't let the old man in." And that's Jerry Chandler. He would not let the old man in. And I've said before, Jerry was the best friend that Seabreeze students and athletes and staff and school ever had. His yardstick was, is it good for students? Is it good for athletes? Is it good for Seabreeze? That's very rare. Also, if you wanted to know what happened at a basketball game in February 2nd, 1989, Jerry Chandler had all the clippings. He had the book, he had everything. Now, some people call that hoarding. I prefer to call that collecting, and he certainly was a collector. He took great pride in what he did, but he was embarrassed by the attention that came his way, and so richly deserved it was. He claimed that he wasn't a public speaker, but man, once he started, we couldn't stop him. He would give us 30 minutes for a 5-minute comment. He really did like to talk, I think. He just enjoyed it very much. I don't think there's any, when you go outside and you look out on the back side of the athletic complex, you see a sign up there, and it says the Gerald R. Chandler Athletic Complex. And that is so fitting for Jerry Chandler. You know, Jerry was always an example for me and others, how to coach, how to teach, how to interact with other people. He's forever going to be that voice in our heads that says, do the right thing. And I think we are better people for knowing Jerry, that Seabreeze is a better place because of Jerry Chandler. We'll not see the likes of Jerry anytime soon. He was a man for all seasons and a very special man. He left the world better than he found it.
Good evening. My name is Bob Wallace, and I was fortunate enough to serve as principal of Seabreeze High School for 13 years. And during that time, I was also fortunate to have some mentors like Ruthie, Don, Marshall Bradley, and especially Mr. Jerry Chandler. In all my 40 years in education, I've never worked with a better athletic director than Jerry. But as outstanding as he was as an athletic director, he was an even better man. I was thinking about the words and phrases that could best describe Jerry, and a few came to mind. A man with incredibly strong work ethic. And you know, when you hear the other speakers, as I'm sure you've heard the first two, there's going to be a common theme throughout. And that just exemplifies the greatness of Jerry. A dedicated man, dedicated to his family and dedicated to this school. A man with unquestioned integrity and moral fiber. A knowledgeable and well-versed man, extremely intelligent. A team player and very loyal. But for me, there's one word that best describes him, and that is benevolent. He was the most compassionate and kind-hearted man I have ever met. He would go out of his way to help a student, teacher, coach, or community member. He always put others ahead of himself. He's always had the school's best interests at heart and had that certain something to solve our problems. I know there were times when I'd be faced with an athletic issue and I'd stomp down to his office with a scowl on my face and go in, and Jerry would look up from his desk and hold up his hand with a crooked little finger and look at me and say, "Hold on, Mr. Bob, I've already taken care of that." And without a doubt, I'd always leave his office with a smile on my face and another story about West Virginia. I also recall a school function that Jerry and I had to attend, and I casually mentioned that I liked his red sport coat, and I thought he looked good in it. Well, the next week, there was one hanging in my office. This sport coat holds a lot of meaning and memories for me. Jerry Chandler was one of a kind, and I am proud that the school board granted our request to name the Seabreeze Athletic Complex in his honor, as his name will be forever linked to these facilities. I came across a short poem that I believe embodies the man we are honoring this evening. It reads, "He has achieved success who has lived well, laughed often, and loved much, who has filled his niche and accomplished his task, who has never lacked appreciation of the earth's beauty or failed to express it, who has left the world better than he found it, who has always looked for the best in others and given them the best he had, whose life was an inspiration, whose memory a benediction." Yes, our community may have lost the cornerstone of the foundation of Seabreeze High School and Jerry Chandler, but remember this: he will live on as long as we keep him in our thoughts and keep him in our hearts. God bless you, Jerry. You will certainly be missed.
My name's Marshall Bradley. I graduated from Seabreeze High School, came back as a teacher, coach, and administrator. It's an honor to stand here today. I want to thank the Chandler family for allowing me to be by Jerry's bedside his last 4 days. A special thanks to Jerry Jr., Christian, Jerry's granddaughter, for your support, your love, and your strength those last 4 days. And thank you to Brad Montgomery, Carrie Kramer, Max Bowles, Jennifer Campanella, and Jeanette Oberst for all you've done. Jerry came to Seabreeze in 1960 and never left. If you're 60 years old and sitting in this auditorium, you were either just born when he got here or you were in that stage. He was here 60 years. In 1961, Jerry and Jack Surratt took a Seabreeze team to Gainesville and won a state championship. From 1962 to 1965, I played for two of the toughest and greatest coaches ever, Jack Surratt and Gerry Chandler. In 1962, I became a JV player for Jerry in the old school. 63, I played JV again for Gerry Chandler in the new school. In 64 and 65, I played varsity. In 1964, my junior year, these two men took a green team to the state championship, and we came home with a state championship trophy. In 1965, we were rated #1 in the state basically all year, but lost on a last-second shot in one of the tournaments, and we were knocked out of the tournament. Our season was over. My basketball was over, except for the fact that Jack and Jerry got me scholarships. I played basketball in junior college and then at the University of Tampa. Both Jerry and Jack kept up with me by email. In my freshman year, Jerry wrote me and reminded me that anytime I came home for the weekend from school, the gym was always open on Saturday. Gerry Chandler made me a better player on those Saturdays. I graduated from the University of Tampa in 1969, got a teaching and coaching position in Tampa. The next year I went to DeLand, taught 2 years and coached there. At the end of that season, I got a call that I always hoped for. It was Joe Nelson, assistant principal. He called me and said, Gerry Chandler wants you as his assistant coach and JV coach. The rest is history. I was Jerry's JV and assistant coach until he retired from basketball and became the athletic director. I became the head coach for the next 6 or 7 years. While coaching any game, Jerry would stand behind me, arms crossed, in the coach's office at the door, if you remember the old gym. And he'd stand there, no matter what was going on. If I called timeout and turned around and looked, there he is staring right at me. And I kept saying, am I doing the right thing? Well, he never made a comment about a game or my coaching. Never. After the game was over, if I didn't say anything to him, he wouldn't say anything to me. But my coaching came when I was turned around, he's still standing there, and I asked his advice. And like Don said, boy, you asked his advice, he gave it to you. But he made me a better coach and a better man. My wife and I will miss the dinners we have shared with Jerry and Luana over the past 30 years. Heck of a man, heck of a wife. The last one we had together was at Mario's restaurant 2 weeks before Jerry passed away. I want to thank you, Luana, for sharing Jerry with us. And you're still as pretty today as you were in 1962. And I mean that. I wrote on Facebook after Jerry's passing and immediately got feedback from Facebook. And see, some of these are very descriptive, and I like to just tell you what some people wrote back. I had hundreds of responses. A mentor, a legend, an icon, a myth, a giant of a man, priceless, amazing athletic director, gave his life to the school, the heartbeat of Seabreeze High School. A part of Seabreeze died with the coach. Wonderful and committed teacher. Outstanding basketball coach. He did what he loved. A wonderful grandfather and great-grandfather. We thought he'd live forever. A great family man. One heck of an athlete. And he will always be Mr. Seabreeze. Now, on the lighter side of the comments coming in, these were some of the kids that have had him over the past few years. They called him the snack guy, the Krispy Kreme donut guy, Mr. Pizza Delivery Man, and the change person. People always went to him to get change. He loved his snack bar, and he loved going to Sam's every weekend. Now, if you look at your program and look at that picture of Jerry, look at your program and look at Jerry. These came from two of the ladies over the years. And when you look at Jerry's face, just listen to what I'm saying from them. He was the cutest teacher ever. And you see the picture. So handsome. The girls just loved him. It's true. Then the second girl wrote, we girls would rush to his biology class and sit in the front row and smile at him. Now, how lucky was he? I mean, he had to be lucky to have them charging into the room to sit in front of him. But that was a true statement because I was in his class and he always made the boys sit at the back of the room. I just want to take one quick minute to try to recognize you all. If you officiated any basketball for Jerry, if you played ball for Jerry Chandler, if you played in a league with Jerry, if you played on Saturdays with Jerry, if you coached with or against Jerry, if you were or are an athletic director, would you please just stand? I want the family to see you. Please. Thank you. Now the other ones. If you coach any sport here at Seabreeze High School while Jerry was athletic director, would you please stand? Thank you. Now, the other person I'd quickly like to recognize, because we talked about this man 2 or 3 times when we were at dinner. He thinks this guy's going to be a great athletic director. He's with it. He knows what he's doing. He's out there for the kids, and he's out there for the coaches. Would Brad Montgomery please stand up, the new athletic director at Seabreeze High School? Thank you, Brad. Now, these 3 final thoughts that came from Facebook that I wrote and listened to and read over and over and over, I had, like I said, hundreds, but these 3 stood out. Number 1, he molded generations of students and athletes, and we are better off for having learned from him. Mike Molahan, student athlete, Seabreeze, 1967. Number 2, may his memory be eternal. Tony Melacrino, teacher, coach, retired from Seabreeze. And number 3, his dedication is unheard of in today's world. He was a father figure to so many. He was a mentor to so many coaches and athletic directors. He will be missed by all. Dick Toth, retired coach and AD at Mainland High School. God bless you, Jerry Chandler, from 1960 to 2019. You are missed. I am glad you never left, and I love you, my friend. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Percy Williamson, and I'm one of Coach Chandler's basketball players from the early 70s. Coach Bradley already took some of my thunder. I was going to ask the former players to stand, but they've already done that. And as that happened, I thought about a couple of words that Jerry Chandler taught me. I'd never heard them before, and I couldn't find them anywhere in the dictionary. And he'd say these words when he was angry. Jeez. That's the first one. And the second one was Jiminy Christmas. So when you heard those two words, you know that something was happening. Each of us have our own individual memories and stories of Coach, and I'm happy to share mine with you today. Three powerful words come to mind when I think of Coach Jerry Chandler: consistent, hardworking, and prepared. In fact, Coach Chandler was without a doubt the hardest working person that I knew. That statement held true at age 15 when I first met him, and it holds true today. I'm 64. Matter of fact, let me diverse for just a second. How many people in the house from West Virginia? Raise your hand if you're from West Virginia. Shout out to West Virginia. I don't usually like to paint any group of people with the same broad brush, but it's been my experience in the 64 years of life to conclude that if you're from West Virginia, and I speak with certainty, that you are the epitome of a hard-working person. I don't know what it is about West Virginia, but personally, the people from West Virginia that I've met in my various careers, if I had an opportunity to hire them, I knew what I was going to get. So I don't know if it's in the water or the DNA or what it is, but West Virginia is a wonderful state producing wonderful, hard-working people, and we're happy and pleased that Jerry Chandler came our way. Coach Chandler was my science and biology teacher, my varsity basketball coach, my mentor, and my friend. I learned a great deal from him, not by having a lot of conversation early on, but by simply paying attention, watching and observing him. You can learn a lot by what a person does and how he does it. Many people say one thing and then they do something entirely different. He was a man who took time to converse with students and to give sound and timely advice. He was the real deal. In 1973, my junior year, that year I consider the darkest, most consequential year of my young life. Difficulties in my personal life, difficulties at school, and not to mention I was relegated to the end of the bench for the first time in my athletic career. A period that I could see no light at the end of the tunnel, no hope for the future, and on the verge of making a tragically catastrophic decision. Coach Chandler called me into his office, and he spoke, unknown to him, unbelievable, encouraging words of wisdom and hope. He spoke about the bright future ahead of me. If only I continued my hard work, my patience, and my desire to succeed. That sincere conversation and positive reinforcement by Coach Chandler was what I needed at that point in time to fight through the difficulties that I thought were insurmountable. If you think you're beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you like to win, but you think that you can't, it's almost a cinch you won't. If you think you'll lose, you lost. For out in the world, we find success begins with fellows' will. It's all in the state of mind. If you think you're outclassed, you are. You've got to think high to rise. You've got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win a prize. We've heard about Coach Chandler's work ethic. We've heard about his organization. And he reminds me so much of another hero of mine, Arthur Ashe. Arthur Ashe once said, "The primary key to success is self-confidence. And the key to self-confidence, preparation." Coach Chandler was the most prepared person that I'd ever met. You weren't going to outwork him, and you weren't going to out-prepare him. And he always got the most out of the talent that you brought to the table. Miss Chandler, I call her his teammate because that's what they were. They were a team, always a team. She knew as much about the game as he did. We can always hear her voice out in the stands. The entire Chandler family, I know and understand that Coach had to have over the many, many years engaged and counseled thousands of students and young people who he came in contact with. And I just want to thank you, Miss Chandler, and you, little Jerry, and the extended Chandler family for sharing a great man with the entire Seabreeze Sandcrabs family. God bless you. God keep you.
I'm honored and humbled to be a part of the celebration of life and the blessing of Gerald Chandler. I don't talk much about my life to people until the past 4 or 5 years, because I'm out there working with kids. In this day and age, at clinics and practices, when I coach or when I'm doing the clinic, the parents stay. They don't drop their kid off, they stay. So I figured after, I go through 5 or 6 weeks of sessions with these young kids, I turn to the parents and I talk about 4 people. When I say blessing, I talk about guardian angels. You can use the two interchangeably in my eyes. Okay, and I have a lot of guardian angels. Some of you are out there in this audience. I may not have acknowledged that, but it's true. So I talk about 4 men that had a major impact on who I am today. Coach came into my life when I was a teenager. He knew about me before because he was the coach or the guy out there who opened that gym up every Saturday for Ormond Beach Junior High rec basketball. Not even junior high, but rec basketball. So he knew about me back when I was 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. When I came to Seabreeze as a sophomore, I probably was like a Forrest Gump. He'd say, "Flick, run through that wall." And I'd turn around and look and say, "Which one, Coach?" And that was the way
I idolized him because he was my father figure. I learned a lot. One game he always took a road trip for us. One game he'd take us away, stay the night. Big deal. I was sick as a dog. We come in on that Friday, I'm dying. Second quarter comes around, I don't know if he pulled me out or if it was after a timeout. He said, "Ted," says, "I know you don't feel well, but you need to get your game on. You were playing horrible." Another time, playing horrible again, my senior year, he went up one side of me and down the other. There were people behind me in the stands, 10 feet, 20 rows up. It got real quiet. And he just said, boom. I heard some words. That's all I got to say, and I'm not going to go any further than that. Come to practice the next day. What wall, Coach? That was just some small stories. The other things were off the court that made him somebody that mattered about what we do. He always knew about our grades 2 or 3 weeks before we got them. So you knew you better do well. Because even though you're doing well on the court, you better do well in that classroom, which was great. The other thing is one day I'm walking to class, said, "I need to see you in the office." I said, "Okay." Go walk into the office, he said, "Flick, where were you Friday night?" "Well, yeah, I was out, Coach." "Yeah, where?" And I'm like, "Well, it was a little party I was at, a little party." He said, "Well, I know everything you do." I'm like, okay. And I'm still trying. I never found out who the snitch was. So I don't know. Somebody's out here. Somebody. And Bradley pulled the same thing on me, and I'm going to have a long talk with him afterwards as well, because I know somebody's out there. And I used to come back every year from college, come back every year Thanksgiving with my family, and I'd always make it a point to come see Coach and Mrs. Chandler and spend at least 30 to 45 minutes. And he was always talking about not athletic achievement, but asking how I'm doing, bragging on his son, bragging on his grandchildren, bragging on his great-grandchildren. And that's what struck me as I matured and started getting into the role of authority, is that he was a father figure to me because he cared. He showed an interest. And there's a major impact for me because I didn't have that to anybody else. That's why he's a blessing. He pointed me in the right path. I could have gone in a very wide path and gone down a bad way. He and these 4 other individuals, 4 other men in my life, kept me straight. And I thank God for the fact that I could walk in their footsteps and try to just honor him just that much because of the impact that he has had on me. So I'm sitting here and looking out here. I'm talking about blessings. Everybody's a blessing in this room right now. And all I ask is you take the time sometimes away from your phones. Be interested in somebody. Have genuine care. Because you don't know when you touch somebody, whether they're going to come back and thank you or not, it doesn't really matter. But you could make them happy. And you can change their life. And it could be simply opening a door with a smile. And that's the way I try to live my life, trying to encourage. For Mrs. Chandler, everybody's already said it before, so some stole my thunder, but thank you for sharing. coached me in basketball for 3 years, but you schooled me in the game of life. We will miss your never-ending guidance, which every one of us got, but we'll take from what we have learned and apply it to the future. You will never be forgotten. I will miss you greatly, but have been greatly enriched by the blessing of being a part of your life. Coach, I love you.
You guys, a lot of you are much taller than me. My name is Kristen Chandler-Martingano, and Jerry Chandler was my grandfather. Just bear with me, okay? I first want to thank every single one of you who were able to join us today and celebrate the life of Gerald Chandler Sr. I've known many of you my entire life, and many of you have known my grandfather even longer. What I've always experienced with him is the incredible friendships and relationships he had with those around him. I remember many of you randomly stopping by the house to say hello, or stopping at a restaurant to shake hands and share stories about playing basketball for him, coaching for him, with him, or against him. And as a kid, to me, this was normal. But what I realized as I got older is that this isn't normal. It's exceptional. I think the impact that he had on so many people's lives, or I think about the impact he had, and it makes me so proud to be a Chandler. He was a man with many titles: husband, father, brother, grandfather, great-grandfather, friend, coach, teacher, athletic director, Mr. Seabreeze, uncle, and probably a few more. But to me, he was Papa. Over the years, people would interchangeably call him my dad, grandpa, papa, and I never corrected them because he encompassed all of these things to me. I am so blessed to have had him as my papa and to have him by my side, cheering me on for so many experiences throughout my life. I'm so happy that my beautiful daughters, Isabella and Milana, were able to spend so much time with him and build their own memories with their papa as well. The last time we were together was a few weeks ago, and it was the first week in November. In our family, the month of November is all about birthdays. We sat in the kitchen in front of a birthday cake that my mama bought for us, and we sang happy birthday. First to Milana, then to Isabella, and finally to me. Changing the candles 3 times to make it extra special for each one of us. Papa watched with a smile as my girls opened their presents, and then joined in to help them play with the bags that the presents came in. Because we all know that sometimes the bags are better than the presents, right? This man meant everything to me. I described him to others as my favorite. And this was no exaggeration. My mama would always say, "You think your papa is so perfect." And that was very true as well. For as long as I can remember, he was my #1 fan, and I was his. As a baby, he carried me around and taught me about the world and sports. He talked about the importance of family and good friends. He showed up to every game, meet, match, and important event that I ever had. There was only really one reason that he may have missed one of my events, and that was if Seabreeze was playing Mainland in a playoff game. It's true. My entire life, our family has had a tradition where we don't go more than a month without spending time together. And when my brother JC and I were kids, we spent a lot of time at my grandparents' house and here at Seabreeze. Many of you know this, but Coach Chandler lives walking distance from this school. So as kids, on Saturday mornings, the three of us, my brother, my papa, and I, would walk over here to Seabreeze, and he'd give us jobs to do. So we'd walk around campus and fill up each vending machine with drinks. We'd walk over to the snack stand and fill in all the rows of snacks. And then we'd head upstairs to his office, and he would dump out the big bag of coins that he had collected from all of the machines. We would sit on the floor, and we would help him sort, roll, and count coins. Now, this sounds like a pretty simple task, but this was way before the days of automated coin counting. So he had his own plastic, homemade coin roll. I don't even know what it was called. Not a machine, that's for sure. So we'd help him count the coins, and then when we were done, it was time for some fun. So we would head down to the gym. He opened the door, and he let us loose. Now talk about a young kid's dream come true. We ran around the bleachers, played with every single ball and piece of sports equipment we could find here at Seabreeze High School. And then the three of us would play several games of pig, horse, around the world, or whatever other creative word we could think of in the basketball court. And in our family, it was common knowledge that no one could beat Papa at basketball. So, no matter what our age was, he never let us win. He would impress us by standing behind the three-point line and making a few shots. And then he would work with us on our form, lift us up so that we could reach the basket, or find a ball that was a little less heavy so that we could actually make it up high. His love of sports was passed along to all of us. It was a constant in our lives. We spent many nights at Seabreeze games helping him collect money and tickets at the gates, working the snack stands, or cheering on the Seabreeze High School teams. And let me tell you, watching this man work a gate or a parking lot was nothing short of amazing. All of these adventures with our papa were the times that we were introduced to so many of you and the stories that you all shared. There was a common theme to all of the stories that he shared with us over the years. They were never about him. They were always about the successes of the players, coaches, teams, friends, and family around him. His dedication to family, friends, sports, Seabreeze, and everything he did was something that I always admired. I try to live my life with the same amount of perseverance, persistence, and sometimes stubbornness that he had. Without him, I would not be the person that I am today. And I am so thankful for what he has taught me and my daughters. We could all learn a little bit from how this man lived his life. He recognized the good and potential in others, and he would do everything possible to help them succeed. He found so much joy in others' success. He was a true leader. I ask that we take a minute to look around this room. Every person here had their own incredible story and experience with this man. He will be missed by all of us, but today is about celebrating his life and the way that he made our lives better by just being in it. Thank you all for being a part of his story, and thank you so much for being here today. Thank you.
Oh boy. Okay. Yeah. Good evening, Sand Crab Nation, friends, and family. Thank you for coming to the celebration of life for my father, Gerald Ross Chandler Sr. The relationship between a father and son can often be quite complicated. Not so for me. I was blessed to have a rather simple, yet powerful and loving relationship with my dad. My dad had a profound impact on the person that I became and the life that I live. Tonight, I would like to share with you some of my dad's favorite one-liners and life's lessons associated with them. In my youngest years, my dad worked 2 jobs, as a basketball coach and a biology teacher by day, and an auditor at the High Life Fronton and dog track at night. He did whatever it took to ensure that my mom and I had what we needed. Despite working 2 jobs, he somehow figured out how to spend quality time with me. I loved shooting hoops with my dad. In grade school and junior high, we usually hit the court before dinner. In high school, it was usually after dinner, only and only after my homework was completed to my mom's satisfaction. I savored those moments with my dad. It was just us. No distractions. No one else to compete for his attention. Just me and my dad solving the day's problems and having fun doing it. We would shoot hoops for a while and then play a game like Around the World, Around the Horn, Pig, but most often we played horse so that we'd have more time to spend together and shoot together. I was always eager and excited about what we were going to do. I wanted to play something like Constantinople, just so I'd have more time shooting hoops with my dad. One of the first lessons I learned from my dad was, it's not the amount of time you spend practicing, it's what you put into the practice that counts. Despite his daily busy schedule, he always found quality time to spend with me. That experience was essential to me, especially when I had my own children. My dad recognized my talents early and steered me towards a career as a naval officer. Unfortunately, this meant that I was often away from it at sea. I struggled with not being around for my children as often as I wanted to be. But when I had doubts, it was my dad that would remind me of the importance of quality and to make the most of every moment possible when I could be with my children. It's not the amount of time you spend, it's what you do with that time that counts. After we'd shoot hoops for a while, he'd say, hit the line. He'd start our foul shooting by saying something like this: hit 10 in a row and we'll go eat dinner. Let's shoot 50 apiece. Run a suicide drill all out, make the foul shot and we'll go in. Do 20 George Mikan layups, hit 2 foul shots and we'll go in. Every day was something different. I could go on and on and on, but it always reminded me to hit the line. This continued until the day I left for college. Our hoop sessions always ended with shooting foul shots, and frequently I heard one of my dad's favorite quotes: games are won and lost on the foul line. Some days we'd shoot 100 foul shots, and I wouldn't realize this because he always changed it up and made it fun and interesting. Foul shots were important to him. If you think about it, the ability to sink a foul shot is an essential skill in life. Right when you're in the mix of playing your opponent all out, running, dribbling, passing, shooting, you get fouled, and everything comes to a halt. You go to the foul line, and you have to immediately crush that adrenaline that's in your body and concentrate totally on making that foul shot. Shooting foul shots, my dad gave me the ability to practice something repetitively, enjoy it, and never get bored with it. The ability to concentrate on an activity and blank out any distractions that have nothing to do with what I'm trying to achieve. And once completed that task at hand, you could seamlessly return to the activity you were doing before without missing a beat. It wasn't until I started flying that I realized how these sessions with my dad trained me to be a pilot in the United States Marine Corps and Navy. As a pilot, my basketball games were now my flight missions. The decisions I had to make while flying had to be automatic, without hesitation. I had to be precise, or the consequences were not good. Landing on a pitching and rolling deck in the dark at mission complete was like shooting those foul shots. You have to control your adrenaline and focus on the task at hand. And just like basketball, once you're done, you put it behind you and get ready for the next game or mission. Another favorite one, and this is a little bit entertaining for me, so I'm probably sure that most of you guys have heard this. So I didn't start this, okay? Coming in second is like kissing your sister. Well, I don't have a sister, so I don't know what kissing your sister's all about. I just assumed that it was bad. I'm not sure what life lessons I was supposed to get from this one, other than to strive to be first in everything that I do. And no matter what, after defeat, practice harder. After defeat, don't dwell on the past. Always be forward-looking. We've so often heard the line, respect is earned. However, this is not the case with my dad. When he met you, you had his respect. It was up to you to keep it. He spoke to everyone in the same way. It didn't matter whether you were the garbage man or the King of England. He believed that every person deserved respect. He listened to what you had to say, whether you were a coach, a player, or a young'un. When you talked to him, he listened. It was this trait that, above all, allowed him to help so many people. Because he respected the people around him, he was able to see the ability in all of us. You were valued, and you were important. In closing, thank you, friends and family, for sharing what my dad meant to you. It is heartwarming for me and my mother to hear your kind words. My dad saw a lot during his lifetime. He was very aware of how fragile life is and the need to make the most of it. His parents passed away when he was young, and he tried his best to care for and take responsibility for his brothers Blair and David and his sister Marilyn. He believed in doing the right thing, no matter how hard it was. Decency, reliability, dignity, and respect. These are all qualities that my dad practiced every single day. Quiet heroes dot the landscape of our society. They are not self-licking ice cream cones. They don't wear medals or kiss trophies. They don't make national headlines. You won't find their names on Nobel Prize lists, but you will find their names on school marquees and local newspapers, the school events program, on the coaches list, or on the teacher's schedule. My father was one of those quiet heroes. Like so many people who had the good fortune to know him, he taught me all the skills that I would need to be successful in this world. The wisdom he possessed and bestowed on me and those around him is extraordinary. He was a great father. My dad showed me being a father is a phenomenal privilege, and no one took that privilege more seriously than he did. My dad and I were inseparable until I left for college. But as I moved to and traveled in different parts of the world, that bond never was broken. I always felt his presence in my mind and my soul. Dad, you will always be with me. You will stay right here in my heart every day for the rest of my life. Just do me a favor. Make sure you stay away from those squirrels. I love you, Dad. Thank you. Thank you. I was supposed to say, I almost forgot this. Please join us, myself and my family, for a reception in the cafeteria, a little bit of hors d'oeuvres, meet and greet, and thank you very much for coming. All right.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountain, Shenandoah River. Life is old and older than the trees, younger than the mountains, growing like the breeze. Country road sings, take me home to the place I belong, West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home, country road. All my memories gather around her. Mine is a lady, stranger to blue water, dark and dusty, painted on the sky, misty taste of moonshine, teardrops in my eyes. Country road, take me home to the place I belong, West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home, country road. I hear her voice in the morning hours, she calls me. The radio reminds me of my home far away. Driving down the road, I get a feeling that I should have been home yesterday. Yesterday, country road.